right, so this is the next card that we are working on, a little bit of an industrial look to it. So the very first thing we're going to do is work on the card base. And I actually don't remember the name of this folder right now, but it's kind of a bunch of metal that is riveted. So what I'm going to do, I have a collage brush here, and I'm going to lightly go over that, working both horizontally and vertically. And that Inka gold is going to be darker around the edges of those raised bits. And it just creates a really cool look. It's just a little bit different than using your hands. Just a little bit more subtle. It still makes that embossing pop, but just in a completely different way. Now, because the Inka gold is water soluble, I don't need to worry about it drying on my brush and ruining my brush. It will moisten up and wash off when I am ready for that. So I'm gonna set that aside for a moment, and then I am going to color my die cut here. So I've got my gears die. And it's probably a little bit hard for you to see the part that isn't inked, simply because it's black on my black mat here. But I'm just going to do it all with gold first. Oops. All with gold first, and then I will use the other colors to make the gears, a couple of the gears a little bit different. I could leave it with all gold gears if I wanted, but I just found by doing a few different metals, it just gave it a more interesting look to it. All right. I'm just going to do 3 of them in the brown gold, and then 3 of them in silver, and then I'm going to do some separate gears to go with it. Trying to do the same ones that I did on my card. If you see me going like that, so that's why I'm trying to do the same ones. And I think I just did that one in brown gold, but I'm going to do that in silver. Do that one in brown gold right there. All right, so that is done. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to glue it onto my embossed piece, so that I can weigh it down, because this one I found it took a little bit of being weighed down in order for it to really adhere to my embossed piece. So let's do that. There we go. Put this down here. I'm going to take a break till my furnace turns off. All right, there we go. If you haven't taken a class with me before where I've said it, I share my craft room with our furnace and our hot water heater. So every once in a while I'm filming a video, the furnace likes to pop itself on, which is not a big deal. My husband likes to say, well, at least you're warm. I just never know whether it interferes with being able to hear me. I know myself, I have a hearing thing where I have a hard time hearing if there's white noise in the background, like running water or a fan or whatever. So I figured might as well shut it off if it could possibly interfere. So I am just inking a couple of the individual gears that I have cut, and then we will glue it onto the card. There we go. Before we glue them onto the card, I've got a few brads here, and yes, you can absolutely get metallic brads, but it's, again, nice to have things that match your project. So I'm just going to take them and I'm gonna quickly color them with the brown gold. Inka gold, and once again, it dries super quick. Let me wipe off my fingers, and then we will glue these gears on. And then I'm just putting the brads through a couple of them. You could put them through a whole bunch. I tend to be of the thinking that less is more, so I don't want to overdo it sometimes, and sometimes I think if you do too many it takes away from it. So I'm trying to just fit the gears in a little bit where I think they might work. Obviously they're not going to work everywhere because the gear spacing is different. And you'll notice I held it down for a few seconds just to give the glue a second to get some good contact with the paper. And then put our last one down here. Oh, okay, there's popping up a bit. All right, so to put the brads through, I'm just going to take my die pick, poke a quick hole, poke the brad through, and I don't really have to be super careful about wiping off that Inka Gold. I've never found it to be an issue. If you found that was happening, what you could do is after you've put it in, you could just take your finger and just touch it up. But all the times that I've done this, I haven't found that it's affected it at all. You definitely want to put the brads through before you put your this piece onto your card base, because this way this will be encased within that card and you won't see it on the inside of your card. All right, now I'm going to put my sentiment on. Now because there's a lot of metallic on this card, I decided that I wanted my card base to match that metallic. So I am going to put some of the Inka Gold around the edges of my card base before I put the front piece on. There we go, now we have, yep, all of them. So I'm going to put my sentiment on here. And in order to make it pop a little bit more, I'm going to take the same gold that I did on the base here, and I'm going to do the exact same technique, and it's just going to frame that piece and make it pop a little bit more. There we go, tuck that to the side, and now I'm going to do the base of my card. I'm trying not to get it all over the rest of my card though, so I'm going to put it on a scrap piece of paper. I'm doing it with the brown gold. You could do it with, actually for the sample or for demo, I'm going to do it with the gold, just to see what the difference between the two colors would look like. Obviously it's personal preference. You could do whatever color you want. You could do a gray card base and then use the silver to make that pop if you wanted. And once again, same as some of the other mats we've done, I only need to do the part that's going to be covered by the image piece of my card. I'm not doing it in the center. A, it's a waste of product, and B, your cardstock is going to stick better to actual cardstock. The glue is going to dry a little bit quicker than it is to the Inka Gold. It'll still stick to the Inka Gold, but it's going to be a little bit easier if you're gluing it to the cardstock. There we go. Let's center it on here. I'll hold it down for a few seconds to give that time to get some good contact. And there we go. So there's our two cards. One with the brown gold as the matte, and one with the gold. And you can see how just those two differences make different parts of the card pop, but both are really, really cool.